select record. Got it. Thank you, Soror Pam. I see your thumbs up. All right. Soror Green.
All right. Good evening, Source. I hope all is well. I am just getting in from a trip and leave out tomorrow. So I have a long night ahead of me. I need to go and repack every all the things that I have just unpacked. And I am so glad and delighted that you are here with us tonight. Before we get started, I just wanted to make an announcement about Christmas in Iota Land. We have an extension on the date for November the 19th, and that is the absolute last day that we can extend receiving videos from the different chapters. So if you haven't got your videos in, please get them in. And the videos should come from your chapter, meaning your Men of Iota, your Fields, your Pilates. You can also have send a greeting from your chapter as well as your Christmas greeting. That's what we're looking for, your Christmas greetings. But so you may end up sending more than one video is what I'm trying to get at. And I look forward to receiving them. I have received some awesome videos, and I really appreciate those who have already sent theirs and sent them on time. I really appreciate that. And I thank you. I thank you so much because you didn't have to do it, but you did. And I thank you. And don't forget your newsletters. Get your newsletters in on time so you at least have 5 newsletters to submit before June the 6th. And our next meeting for training will be in January, and it will be on Canva. And it's the second Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And this is like one of our most requested videos. And our Google, we're gonna have to do that again because a lot of people have asked for this video that we're doing tonight. And so I look forward to sharing with you all. And if you can't be with us, we will try to get it recorded and send it to you as well. So thank you. Now I would like to introduce to you I don't even know how to describe her, but she's wonderful. I absolutely love her. We bonded way back when, and we only seen each other a few times. And I think it's amazing that, Zoom has helped us to do as much as we do together. So I'd like to introduce you, and probably you have already met her, but this is Soror Martin, and she is our National Executive Director. Well, I might be saying that wrong, but I love her. I just want y'all to know that. And so now we have Soror Vanetta. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Soror Michelle, our national journalist. I'm happy to be here tonight, and I'm honored that you asked me to do this presentation / training with your core group of Sorors who are, holding up the organization through their efforts as journalists. Sorors, bear with me. I am on one monitor. As we've been in the remote working setting, we used to have 2 monitors. Now I'm at home and I only have 1 monitor. So I'm gonna be toggling between a PowerPoint slide deck that I have for you all and the actual Google product that we're gonna be talking about tonight, which is Google Forms. And so bear with me as I share the screen. Let's share the full screen. If you all have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm gonna ask Soror Michelle to kind of help me out with questions that may pop up as we go along with the training. Um, Again, tonight's presentation and training is on Google Forms and how IOTA Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated can use Google Forms more. Um, by show of hands or in the comments, let me know if in your region, in your chapter, you're already using Google Forms. So just put yes in your chapter in your region. All right. So, Michelle, can you do me a favor and call out some of those sorors if they are? You there, Sora Michelle?
Oh, I'm just talking and nobody hears me. I was
No.
saying Niger, Washington, yay. Gamma
Okay.
Eastern, yes, they say
All
they
right.
do.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So here's tonight's agenda. I'll show you a little bit about myself, reasons to use Google Forms for surveying that chances are we may not have thought of, or you may be doing it, how to get started with using Google Forms, connecting your survey form to a Google Sheet. They're two separate products, but bringing them together to help get results and make changes in your chapter or your region. Some tips on interpreting the results for efficiency, our word, our keyword in IOTA land, efficiency, and operational improvement. And then, of course, question and answers. But of course, I'll receive those throughout the presentation, and that's fine. So this is a little bit about me. I'm not going to read the slide deck, but what I want to say at the end of the day, through all of my 18 years in IOTA Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated, which I have loved, um, I have had to use Google Forms to keep me uh, organized, productive, and efficient, and be able to be smart. So, for some of you, if you are in the project management world, you may hear the acronym of SMART, being measurable and so forth with the work that you're doing. And so, Google Forms helps you to do that. And so, I'm going to show you tonight how that can occur. Some of my use of Google Forms have led me to be able to document the number of chapters over the 7-year period that I've been the executive director supporting the executive board and members like yourself. And so when I came in 2015, we had 58 chapters. And I was using Google Forms to help monitor those 58 chapters. And today we've grown as far as up to 67 chapters in 2022, on our way to National President White's goal of 100 chapters and 2,000 plus members. So you can see some of the results of using Google Forms just by some of the work that we're doing in IOTA. Reasons to use Google Forms. Based on my experience in my professional career life, as well as the work I do for IOTA and other nonprofit organizations, I've used Google Forms to help me understand target audiences that either myself as a chairperson or executive director, or if I'm a part of a volunteer group trying to put on a project, that we've used Google Forms to survey those target audiences. For IOTA, in the chat, do me a favor, put in a couple of target audiences that you all have in the past reached out to. And so, Michelle, as folks are putting that information in the chat, if you can read it off for us.
Will do.
Okay. Some other reasons to use Google Forms is also to get to know your chapter members, right? Every year, chapters are changing. You're getting new leadership. You're getting new local, what we call executive boards or chapter boards, chapter leadership to manage the operations of your chapter and make sure the programs and the projects are getting executed. You can use it to understand your chapter members' strengths, understand what they would like to become involved with for committees, things of that nature, and where they would best fit to kind of give them guidance on that. You can also use Google surveys for RSVPs, registration for events, your programs, your projects, and then also real-time surveying after a program or project. Definitely use it for improving performance as a chapter or a chairperson. And here's one that I've thought of: collection process for information to build your chapter report. Have any of you ever thought of that? Collecting information for chapter reports. So
Hmm.
here's the catch: chapter presidents can connect with their chairpersons and members who are on committees to use a Google form to collect that information into one central space to help her and her executive board to create their chapter report, which currently will end up being filtered up to our president-elect, Soror Charlotte Barry. So these are some reasons to use Google Forms in our practice of delivering programs, projects, and just doing internal management of our members. Sora Green, before I go on to the next slide, did you get any additional feedback?
I did. I did.
Okay.
I have surveys to take survey of interest, also
Mm,
used
yeah.
to nominate officers. And I think
Mm,
that's a great idea about what you said about our doing the chapter forms. I mean,
yeah.
getting the information ready because I
Chapter
could have
report.
used that. I could have used that about 6 months ago. I really could have. I
Yeah.
really could have.
Yeah, because it's accessible 24/7. And so it's once you get used to it and learn it, if you're not familiar with this web-based tool, it can really help your chapter to be productive and really highlight and show the impact that your chapter is having on your local community, and as well for regions as well. So let's get started with Google Forms. What are Google Forms? Google Forms is a survey administration software included as a part of the free web-based Google Docs editor suite offered by Google. That's a long way of saying it's an online application that can allow multiple users to access it, to set it up, create it, manage it, monitor it, and then also export information out of it to create a story for performance or measuring where that individual or organization and entity want to move forward with either their program, their project, or a business process in their chapter or region, or even nationally. Unfortunately, you must have a Google account. So Source, if you have an AOL or a .yahoo or any type of other email account and you don't use Google, it's okay, because the alternative option, if you're interested in doing Google Forms, is working with another member to create the form you're seeking. Once the form is created, you would be able to view it and get access to monitoring it. You just wouldn't be able to create it. Or you can just create a Google account to help you use more of the Google products. And this third bullet, Google Learning Workspace Center, is a fantastic resource for your continued learning efforts about any Google product, but also definitely about Google Forms. So before we get off of this session, I'm going to try my best to pull that out and put it in the chat for you. So accessing Google Forms. This is the URL to access Google Forms. It's really easy. It's docs.google.com. Once I finish with the slide deck, I'm going to walk you all through how to access the Google Forms and create a Google form, and then how to look at a Google Sheet. That is the result of creating your Google form. This is just a visual. If you do already have a Google account, you would just ultimately do google.com. It'll pull up. Oftentimes, it'll automatically pull up where you're already logged in. If you're not already logged in, you'll need to log into your Google account, and then it'll bring up the Google dashboard showing your Gmail, images, and these 9 dots. These 9 dots are a shortcut menu to all of the Google products. And basically, you'll just scroll down and find the Google application of Forms. If you're new to this and you just newly created, you can keep scrolling down and it's going to give you the option to go to the web page for all of the Google products. And that's where you'll be able to pull up Google Forms. So, Michelle, I just wanted to find out if there's any questions from any of the Soras on the line before continuing about what I've presented so far.
So far, no. So you're doing a
Okay.
good job.
Okay. Once you select Google Forms, it will open up to this blank template. Um, and what you can begin to do is you can begin to name your Google form. And then this is the page in which you'll start to create your questions. The fun thing about Google Forms is that it doesn't have to be a survey where it goes from top to bottom straight down. You can actually create multiple pages within your Google form. So your first page could be just a bare introduction, like, hey, welcome to my survey. This is the purpose of the survey and why we're collecting this information. And then you'll create another page. And then that's when you'll begin to go into those questions. I'll show you that again in a live presentation in a moment. But ultimately, these are the questions. The responses is the tab where you'll be able to look at the responses that are coming in that real-time fashion, but also be able to create your spreadsheet. The settings, I'll show you in a moment. It gives you a little bit more advanced options for your survey. And a good example is the iotatalks.com fall 2022. It's going on right now for 3 months. And ultimately, the new feature that I added that I hadn't done before in other surveys is the points. Wanted to make it a little bit fun and not just a general survey and follow up to members watching the video, but for each question, it assigns points. In that survey, about 7 points. And so ultimately, what happens is for each question, you can set the correct answer, and it will provide points to that. Up here in your upper right-hand corner, these are add-ons. This is where, for those advanced form users, if you want to add in videos and some of those nice additional components to a survey to make it a little bit more interactive and not the regular click, 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 you can do that by selecting your add-ons here. This paint palette is to change the color of your background here. You can also upload pictures for the headers. And then this view, this eye, is just the preview to preview what your survey will look like. And then you have the send button for the options. On this middle right toolbar, this is where for each of your questions, you can create your specifics around the type of questions that you want to ask. You can have a basic text, you can do multiple choice, you could do box, all of that. This is how you add in header, pictures, different type of text font, video, and sectioning off your survey. Again, I will be showing you in real time creation of a survey in a moment. So connecting your survey form to a Google Sheet. Again, it's really, really simple and easy. There's two options. You can create your form first with all of your questions and then put it in this format. Now, there's the other option of if you've created a Google Sheet and your Google Sheet has questions or it has criteria in it that you want to create a form out of it. You can also do that, and I'll show you how to access that option as well. But when you've created your form using Google Form option, you'll go to the tab called Responses. And in this example, you can see for this form that I had created a while back, this little green and white symbol. See, Google really likes IOTA. They do a lot of green and white in their templates. This is the Google Sheet icon. You just click it and it'll connect you right into a blank Google Sheet, which will be collecting the information from your survey form. So let me see. So remember how I just mentioned to you, there's two options for, creating your spreadsheet. You can have something that's new, which is related and connected to your Google form, or you can select an existing spreadsheet, which will create the form with the questions and the criteria that you are seeking. So those are the two
Excuse me,
options.
Soror. I am so sorry to do this, to ask you this question. We're having a hard time letting the people in.
Okay.
And
So let
I
me
was
see. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna
okay.
minimize.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm truly sorry. Y'all forgive me for this. There's like 3 people out there
And
that's
they
trying to
are
get in.
actually 9, Sor. No worries. I'm admitting them all.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Very welcome. Not a problem. So,
The Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitoring system eliminates painful finger sticks, helps lower A1C, and
Please
it's
cut off, mute your
before the
phone.
Dexcom G6.
Please mute
I
your,
couldn't enjoy a single beat. I was always trying to
welcome,
outdo
sir.
my
If you can, please mute yourself. Thank you. For those who just entered, welcome. I'm Sora Vanetta Martin, facilitating tonight's training. I'm going to continue with where we were. We are recording tonight's session, so you can pick up from the beginning once we finish tonight's session. So bear with me. Can everybody see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that, Sora. So as I was mentioning before, once you create the Google form, and then you select on the responses tab in the Google Forms portal, the green and white icon, it'll create this Google Sheet, and it will connect what you've created in your Google form directly into this Google Sheet. This is great for registrations, and as somebody mentioned earlier, doing interest meetings, you can collect individuals' information through a Google form, just sending them the link right then and there, and they can submit their interest on the spot. It also helps to provide automatic analytics on the information a participant is submitting, and you'll see that in a moment. So here's some tips on interpreting the results for efficiency and operational improvement. Review your Google report that is automatically created based on the form responses. Once I show you, you're going to see how easy it is to review the report information and how easy it is to just copy and paste it into another tool like Microsoft PowerPoint or Word document to present your results to, whether it's your chapter leadership, your chapter members, your regional leadership, or, anyone that you want to see your results. I like to keep it simple, silly, because the information when you're presenting it, you don't want it to be too overcomplicated. You want it to be straightforward, and you want to be able to show the change and impact and possibly any risk when you're presenting your results. So these are some, we'll be doing questions and answers in a moment, but this is my contact information. Everybody will be getting this presentation. I've already shared it with Soror Michelle, your national journalist, and I know she'll be sharing it with you all after today's presentation. While I'm switching, are there any questions so far? No. Okay, good. Good, good, good. So now we're going to go into, this is the Google Workspace Learning Center, what I have mentioned before about anybody who's interested in learning more about the various Google products, whether it's Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Forms. I just pulled this page for Google Form training and help. So you can always go here and get additional information beyond what I'm presenting to you today. So just doing a quick scroll through. All right. So remember when I was presenting and mentioning to get started, you would just type in google.com and it will pull up your Google page and then your Gmail and your images. Here's the 9 dots. You're going to select the 9 dots. And again, these are a lot of the Google products. You're just going to scroll down as far as you can until you get to forms. Now, remember how I mentioned if you're a new user to Google, if you have to create your Google account for the very first time, you may not have all of these Google products. So what you may want to do, what you may end up doing is going more from the Google Workspace Marketplace. And this opens up another page where I have all of the Google products. So I'm going to select Google Forms. And this is the dashboard of forms that are previously created by the user. If, again, you're new, you're not going to have any forms under recent forms. It'll just be blank. But ultimately, you'll just select here for start a new form. And once you do that, it opens up this blank palette for you to start creating your form. So I want to do this. From the peanut gallery, give me a title for a survey that you all may be working on a program or a project and you're like, I would love to do a survey. And so, Michelle, if you could look in the chat, or if somebody wants to just come off mic and let us know.
Well, I'm working on a form for a national convention.
Okay, let's do that. So what type of information are you trying to collect, Soror Michelle?
We're trying to find out who is planning on coming, and are they coming for the the early part, or they're just coming for the convention?
Okay, so we could do this. We could title it 94th National Convention Survey Interest Form. Good?
Good.
All right.
And I don't see any in the chat.
Okay, cool. So usually what I like to do is I like to customize my background. So when you hit that palette again, you can do the different text styles here, the font size, it'll change it, the question, font style and size of the font, the header. You can choose an image.
Oh, cool.
And once you select choose image, you've got themes already built into Google. So you can select any one of these themes of your choosing. But knowing us in IOTA, we always have a lot of pictures and a lot of graphics. So let me do something here. I'm going to upload and I'm going to browse to see if I could find something of use. And bear with me, I have a lot of stuff. So this is our save the date. We'll just use this for example. The specifications behind the height of the header that they use in Google Forms, I am not sure about the numerical height requirements. But what happens is when you upload your graphic into this area for the header, you can see that it's not going to be able to cover everything. So what you can do is shift this little bar. And so we'll do that much.
Okay.
At least it'll capture that information. And you select done. And it should appear.
Yay.
At the very top, as so. So now you have a header and it blends in with your background. Again, for the background, you can also do images, things of that nature, but I keep it simple. So we're done with the theme specifications. What happens when you put in the title here, it'll automatically filter right into the body of your survey form. But you can always edit this just by taking your cursor and selecting it right there. And you can change it. So that way you can shorten it up here. Interest form for convention attendance. And then you can add a little bit of description here as well. National Executive Board is seeking information on members interested in attending the 2023 National Convention. That's just an example. You can highlight it, bold it, italicize it, underline it. If you wanted to add in some additional information to link it to another document or something else that's important and imperative to your survey results, you can also do that here.
Okay.
All right. So then you just select out. Oftentimes with Google Forms, it will do this automatic email collection, which is great because you want to be able to follow up with your participants of your form. So it'll automatically do that. But in case you're doing something where privacy is required, you can change the settings. And again, that's under settings there. And, you can make this a quiz, responses, collect email addresses. See how it's automatically defaulted to collecting email addresses?
Mm-hmm.
You can deselect it to take it off from collecting email addresses. But often I keep it because I want to follow up with people. So, and I think I'm going to jump ahead of the agenda of showing you this because now we're in the settings of the form responses and collecting information. And so if you wanted to create this as make this a quiz, you can assign point values, set answers, and automatically provide feedback. And so this is what I've done with the IOTA.talks surveys, created points. Now here's a catch. There's a small limitation with demographic questions, and there's no way right now, to the best of my knowledge, that you can separate demographic questions from being correct answers. So what happens is if you can't give that demographic question an answer to make it correct, it will make it result in an incorrect answer. And so I'm doing a little bit more research on that. But right now, don't have a fear of doing demographic questions and then your questions and adding point values if that's something you want to do with your survey form. Any questions around what I just mentioned? Okay. You can also send responders a copy of their responses. It's off right now. You can do when requested or always. Allow response editing. Depending on the type of survey you're doing, this will be something that's ideal, and sometimes it's not. For quizzes and things of that nature, trainings that your chapter may be doing for your members, this might be okay because what you can do is kind of allow them to get the answer incorrect, but then understand and know what the correct answer is and the reason behind why it's correct or incorrect. You can do all of that specification right here. You can also limit the responses, limit it to one response or many. Yep. Do we have a question? Okay.
I hear it as well, but I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay. And again, this is a small group, so if you want to come off mic, feel free to interject. That's not a problem. Also, you've got presentation, how you want the survey to present to the end user as they're doing it. Do you want to show a progress bar, shuffle question order? I don't really do the shuffling of questions. Usually when I set my form up, I logically have the questions in a certain order. So really consider thought around that. After submission, so kind of the customer service feel, you're asking this person to take time out of their day, their night to provide you feedback and information and input. you want to give them back something. And to do that, you can do it with the after submission section. You can do it by confirming a message saying, thank you for taking the survey. Your response has been recorded. So that lets the participant of your survey know, okay, cool, they got my responses. You can show the link to submit another response or not. View results summary. Let's click on that. You can share the results summary. So once they finish doing their survey, this is a way and an option for the participant to see what they submitted, just for posterity. And then you've got some restrictions. You can disable autosave for all respondents. So this means respondents will lose their progress if their browser closes or refreshes. I never really do that because Murphy's Law with, VPN, internet Wi-Fi, something could happen. You're in the middle of a storm somewhere out in Texas and, the storm is happening, rain is happening, and your Wi-Fi might go out. You don't want to disable autosave for all respondents. You want to, keep it off. So that way, Google and Google Forms especially, it auto saves any information that goes into the form automatically. So if something happens like that with a storm and it goes out, the information will still be there when they log back in to follow up and complete their response. And then you have some defaults here as well. Question defaults, and form defaults. Collect email addresses by default right here as well. So let me go back to the form, and you can toggle in between settings, responses, and questions while you're setting up your form. And so Soror Green, you were asking about, interest form for convention attendees.
Yes.
Question types. Again, you've got short answer, paragraph, multiple choice check boxes, drop down, file upload. Now here's the catch with file upload. If you've got the basic Google account, meaning Google will give you a certain number of Google Drive space to manage any forms, documents, things that you create on their platform in what we call the Google Drive. Say, for example, it's 25 megabytes. Well, be careful. When you're asking a participant to upload a document or a file upload, that document may take up a lot of your space. And then that would constitute you having to increase your subscription at cost. So a lot of chapters, if you are going to go down the path of actively, aggressively using Google Forms, you may want to build this into your chapter budget. But if not, you can just use it until your Google Drive space kind of, gets full. But be mindful of that if you do end up using file upload as a question in your Google form. And then you have linear scale. That's a little bit more scientific. That's more of the 1 through 5 response. You've got multiple choice grid where you could have a participant do multiple, like have one question and then allow them to do multiple answers there. And it can be done as a grid or a checkbox. You also have got date and time options. So let's do a couple of them. So Michelle, what would you?
Someone wants to know, is Google Forms similar to, is that Cognito form?
Well,
it's from Soror Neil.
Hi, Soror Neil. Good night. So, to be honest and transparent, I have not used that product. But chances are it may have a lot of the functionalities that Google Form has. Did you want to come off mic and enlighten us a little bit about that platform?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it, and some of the I want to say some of the tabs are similar to what we use called Cognito forms. It allows the person to take maybe a quiz or a survey like you were just showing, where they answer the questions. So not only does it answer the questions, but those ones that you consider, that they consider incorrect answer, they will shoot it back to the person and say this answer was incorrect and give them a chance to do another answer
Another
the
response.
same question. So while I was looking, I'm like, I wonder if this is like cognito forms, because we use them a lot in
Okay.
different aspects.
And it sounds very similar. It sounds very similar. I don't know again the full functionality of that product, but it sounds like it does do a lot of what Google Form does. The one question I would ask is, when it collects the information, I'm assuming that it's going to be able to automatically download the information into an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF document, so that way whomever the user of it can see the results in a summary table of some shape or form.
I use it in, well, I teach for DODD, which is Department of Disability.
Yes.
And we use this similar form for our folks who are doing their mid-certs. So they have certain, but at the end of the form, just like it says you have submitted it. Once it's submitted, it goes into a PDF and they can see, you know, what their answers were, what the percentage was. And so that's what I'm looking at and saying, wow, this is sort of like cognito.
Yep, exactly. So it does sound very, very similar. And so, as you all have just heard from our Soror, and thank you for your contribution, there are a lot of products out there with a lot of the same features that are very similar to Google Form. However, in my current role as executive director, what I had available and accessible to me and that I could connect and work with the National Executive Board and other SOARs out there on committees is Google Form, which is inexpensive and effective at the moment in time. So, SOAR Michelle, I'm going to hop back to you so we can do a couple of questions that you would ask in your interest form.
Okay. Question 1. Have you made your hotel reservations?
Have you made
And then that's probably going to be question 2, because question 1 should have been, are you planning on attending?
right? So what we do here is we could just change that to 2. And then see, with Google Form, it already gives you the suggestions. So you can just click add all, and it automatically does it for you. Yep. And if it's a question where you have add other, you can add other, and that allows the participant of the survey to add in other and then some description on other. Now, typically, standard wise for surveys, you're going to have a beginning section that has a little bit of demographic detail, right? So in this instance, Soror Michelle, on behalf of the executive board and the regional directors that comprise the board, as well as our other officers, she's going to be collecting information from 5 different regions. So she's probably going to want to have a question or two about, well, which region are you from? Which chapter are you from? And we're already collecting emails. So let me go ahead and do that and add a question about your region. So 1, what region are you from? And so you can also do drop downs, right? So let's make it easier on our participant. The less that they have to type in, it makes it a lot easier for them in getting through your survey, where they can just do a drop down select or click a circular button for an option. And so we'll put in Central, Eastern, for our Western, Southern, Southwestern. Now, from a national perspective, what I always do is I add this little caveat. Now, even though members at large may not be, they are within their region. So they wouldn't go here, but they would go in maybe a different question, like type of member. Are you a graduate soror, an undergraduate soror, an auxiliary member? And so you would put them in that question there. And then if you want to remove a question option, you can just click the X right there. And then you just select out. When you want to move around your questions because they may be out of order, you just put the crossbow on these 6 dots and pull it up. And there you go. So Michelle, how am I doing on time?
It's 8:47.
Okay, good. So we've got the region in there. Let's add one more question about type of soror. Add 2. What type of IOTA member are you? And you can do another drop down. You can have graduate soror, undergraduate soror, auxiliary, MOI, auxiliary, Pilates, and Phil. And then lastly, member, last but never least, member at large. Okay. Now for the chapter, it'll be easier. Now I'm reminding you all, I'm doing this from a national perspective. But when you're in your chapter, it doesn't have to be as this detail, right? You specify it to the audience, tailor it to the audience that you are trying to receive feedback, input, responses from. Okay, so we've got 1, we've got 2. Then how do you change your questions? You just click on it with your cursor. It'll open up 3. Now, if you want to create a new section, this is great. You can just select add section, and this is what Google Forms will provide you. It'll say after section 1, continue to the next section. So that's just telling the form what to do next for your participant. So Soror Michelle, give me another section header that you would like for your form.
How many days do you plan to attend?
Okay. Duration of stay. So IOTA members attend the National Convention. And so when you do your sections, you can also have a description area. You can, again, tailor it, bold it, italicize it, underline it, add a link to a form or something of that nature. And then you would just select the plus sign to add a question. You can also import questions. I've never really had to do that because I like creating my surveys fresh. But if you've already got questions that you want to use, you can import them. Add a title and description, add an image here. If you got a video, you can do that as well. So we're going to add one more question. And you'll number it. What's the question again, Soror Michelle?
A new question is, are you planning to stay extended? Because we are offering extended stay to visit, like to visit Canada or to stay longer for vacation. You know,
Okay.
they can come early or they can stay later. I don't even know how to put that.
Okay. We are determining the length of IOTA members who would like to stay post convention to site C. Okay. And so again, you can have your options be yes, no, maybe, anything that you like. And so we'll just go ahead, be real simple and add all.
I like
And
that.
so I just want to offer to you all, there's no right, no wrong in creating your form. You just have to be very aware and convicted in the type of information you want to collect, who you want to collect it from, and how long you want to collect the information. You can schedule your survey to be open for a week, a month, so long as you just know what you want. And so let's take a preview of the survey. So we're going to do a quick preview, and this is what it looks like
Okay.
in the view form. Now, it'll automatically have the person who's creating the form is going to have your email address. So there's nothing wrong with that. And you can switch accounts. I have multiple Google accounts. So I can switch in between accounts and it'll end up with that account, the survey that you're creating. So I'm going to keep it in this account that I have right now. Then it'll ask for the email address. If you see an asterisk by your question, in any of these questions on the form, you can make it a required question. You just have to make sure you enable that feature. But I'll ask you for your email address. So I'm going to go ahead and just martin1@gmail.com. I'm going to put Eastern. I'm a graduate Soror. No. And then go to next. Duration of stay. Are you planning to stay extended? I'm going to say yes, because I need a vacation. I don't know about you all, but I know I need a vacation. And then you'll go right here and you'll submit the form. And it says your responses have been recorded. This is a basic automatic default notice to the participant. And then you can see previous responses and submit another response because we're allowing members to do that for this specific form. Now let's go back on the administrative side. You can see in real time, one response was collected already. And so remember how I was mentioning earlier on, you can see the analytics behind it. Here, Google has astronomically improved on its analytic gathering of information from surveys. And so ultimately you could just click copy here and then ultimately put it in a PowerPoint slide deck. And I'll show you that real quick. Insert a new slide. Voila.
Wow.
And it adds it right to your PowerPoint slide deck. So let's scroll down. And so it'll continue to collect this information as this until you close it off. Let me scroll back up to responses. Accepting responses. This is where you can stop collecting responses, where you can reopen your responses. So if you as a committee member or a chairperson are collecting information and you know when your deadline is to collect this information in preparation of reporting it out, you can always go in here and just disable it. And it'll say not accepting responses. If anybody has the link and they try to use it, it'll give them, sorry, you can't access it. But we're going to put that back on. And then we'll click on the green and white. And here you go. Here is the Google Sheet with the time stamp, which is great because you get to monitor the date and the time that you're getting your responses, if that's of importance to you, the email address of the participant, and then it answers the questions going across the board. Okay.
Excuse me, Soror. Now, how did you get over to that section of it again?
You see
that?
Yep.
Okay, I see it. I see it.
It says view responses in Sheets.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and it opens it right up.
And I'm sorry, what did you click on to throw that into a PowerPoint presentation? Or was it?
So what I did is you'll have to open up your PowerPoint software application separately from your Google form. But all you do is when you're in your Google form on the responses page and you scroll down to whatever question you want to copy, you just select copy. And then I've already got my PowerPoint slide deck open from earlier.
Oh, okay. You just pasted it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I see.
And so I'll do a new slide deck. And ultimately, voila. And the great thing with the newer version of PowerPoint, it gives you all of these fun designer elements. So you could just plop the information in your analytics and then find a nice, fun, design for it. Something like that. So that's how you can collaboratively use Google Form with a Microsoft Office product such as PowerPoint. You can also use this in Word, but often being a business and a professional woman or an entrepreneur, and you want to make it short, tight, to the point about the information you found, the changes you want to make, or the impact or the risk of a situation or a scenario, a PowerPoint slide deck is the best way to go. Okay. With that being said, are there any questions for me?
Yes, Soror Martin, this is Soror Alicia. Sorry, I'm driving, so I can't tap my question. It's been a long time since I've used forms. We typically use Jot form, but is for the name field, I'm kind of going basic. I feel like I remember if there's just one name field, meaning like is there a setting to change it so that it's parsed with my first name, middle initial, or middle name, last name, or is it always just one field?
Absolutely. You can, that's when you're creating your questions. You can create a question where it's first name only, and then another question, last name.
Okay, okay. So you do have to do different fields. In your mind in Jot form, it's a name field, and then I can select first name. You could select the setting, but in Google Forms, you have to create multiple fields in order for it to work.
You can, or you can just create one field and say name, and in parentheses, first and last. And then that way the person will put their full name in that one question, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I do, but when it goes into the spreadsheet, it's always going to be in one column, right? So then you lose your filter, which you can parse that into multiple columns, but that's more work. Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right, got it.
You bring up a very good question and a valid point. So I'm going to show you a couple of options here. Bear with me. And I know we're 1 minute to 9 o'clock. So I fully understand if anybody has to jump off at 9 o'clock because you got to get dinner. It's been a long day. Feel free to. We are recording. But Soror, I just want to kind of speak a little bit real quickly on what you just mentioned. So I'm going to do it first name to kind of speak to what you were talking about and the difference between this product and the dot form. Name. And then I'm going to just show you full name. Full name. So this is a short answer. So I'll put in, I apologize, Source. My computer is being a little temperamental with me right now.
And I'm in a storm out here in South Carolina.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to type and it will not let me type. This is something unique. All right, so let me do a quick refresh and see if that'll help out. Okay, so that's what it is. I've got to preview. There we go. So I'm going to type in this email address. I'm going to skip those questions. So the Soror was just mentioning for your name and how it filters in directly to the Google Sheet. You have control in how you collect your data. And so you can either collect a first name and a last name in two different question templates, or you can do one question template and ask the participant to give their full name. And so I'm going to show you how that'll look once we save it into the form. And then you select save. And so Soror, if you're still with us, see how with the three options, I've created the first name and the last name. So it separates my name, the information that I put into the form, versus creating a question where you're just asking for the person's full name and it'll collect the information as such. So you have options in how you can create your form. Does that help, Soror?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very welcome. So I'm going to stop sharing because I think I've come to the end of the presentation. Again, Soror Michelle, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to offer some knowledge and just kind of exchange with other Sorors and what they're doing in their chapters and some of the tools and applications that they are using, because it kind of helps grow our knowledge base in Iota Phi Lambda. Are there any additional questions for me?
No.
Okay. So did I do a good job? We're going to send a survey.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Very helpful.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank
Thank you, Soros. I appreciate it. I know some things, but being in IOTA, it's a knowledge base in and of itself. So where I've gotten today, it's been by practice. It's been collaborating with Soros in my own chapter, Gamma chapter, because they're very innovative. But it's also been working with Sora Michelle and her pushing and other Soros, like in Alpha chapter and all over the country. So again, thank you all for being on tonight. And wherever you are, be safe and, be blessed and stay dry.
All right. Yeah. I think that's why I was having problems here too. I got a storm going on. So I'm not going to say Soror Nicole, but the storm is called Nicole.
Oh, the storm is called Nicole.
It's called Nicole.
Yeah.
Good night,
Yeah.
Sorors.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you all for
Good
coming.
Night. Thank
Well.
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you, Doris. All right.